And I christen the beginning of the live stream. Currently, my soda is already open, and I have drunk from it. Oop. Good morning, guys. Happy Munsun. Happy Munsun, guys. Hope you guys are having a wonderful morning so far. Tonight we are going to Apex Legends. You know, I've often considered just getting a microphone so I can put around in a boom arm. I do, but then it's in the way. It's always in the way, and I have my laptop over here where I'd attach the boom. Not enough room on my right because there's a wall here. I guess I could attach it to that. Like a little extendo desk space, you know, when you really need it. Bitcoin is still climbing, by the way. After this weekend has been kind of weird. That's a good sign. If it goes into Monday and does not dump immediately back down to where it is, that's a really good sign, guys. I in podcasts change this. I either sit half the night non-podcast or half the night in podcast when I should podcast. Habits. Yes. So crypto watch. So as I mentioned yesterday, this started basically when I started streaming. Bitcoin started climbing and immediately dumped. Yeah, the kids love dumping on. They're like, fuck this guy, we're just gonna fucking dump this shit. And then they down here. And it derped out a little bit, and then far back. This is the one I was talking about. Dumped on this guy just like super hardcore and petered out, and then now it's climbing again. And super big buy-in, which got hammered down. Still going up using all my non-technical financial terms here. But a lot of positive volume going on here. Uphill. This is really good. This is a really good sign, guys. Very good sign. In the last couple months, this is probably the best signs we've had. When you get something like this is too sudden, and then it usually just peters out fast enough where people can't try to dump on it. But at the same time, it usually doesn't actually continue trending. You gotta get like slow, gradual climbs like this, or small slants upwards. They go balls deep. They're probably trying for 4K, so maybe 4K on Monday, and then it's probably going to dump back down to 3,900, 3,800. Still better than where it was, so. That. Dumped again. That's just literally bucket if you look at that. Look at all this. Oh, the fight here though. That was one hard fight. Things could have easily bottomed out here. Like we're talking like less than $1,000. Easily less than that. Level like 7K for a long time. I thought this was the bottom. I thought this was the bottom of mining. Mining of Bitcoin, but it wasn't. Whenever you think it's the bottom, guys, it just goes even further. And you got this guy stands out. That stands out. Anyways, hopefully this is a good sign, guys. Going into Monday, we'll see when basically the U.S. opens tomorrow. And not really opens because Bitcoin never really closes. But when people wake up and show up at their office tomorrow, which is kind of when it opens, whether or not everyone dumps and tries to hammer it back down, go. Because if it lasts through Monday, usually that means there's going to be a pretty good week. Anyways, tomorrow is President's Day, so I guess technically people aren't working at actual real financial institutes. So maybe Tuesday? There's a lot of holidays that actually land on President's Day. It's not just President's Day. Canada has Family Day or something weird. A lot of different holidays throughout the world that are on 18th of February for some strange reason. It's like one of those weird after Christmas holidays that just tries to make you feel like you're not, like the ended. Unless you live in Australia or in a third world country. So, and technically, with all the things that want to kill you in Australia, it's pretty much a third world country, anyways. So, and pretty much all countries south of the equator are third world countries. South Africa is kind of probably the little exception there, and that's kind of the place in Africa that matters. And then there's Egypt, but that's because of tourism, because of the pyramids. That. Spend a lot of people saying that, but that's the truth of the matter. Good. Oh yeah. So yesterday in Apex, guys, we were messing around my settings. We had a lot of pretty terrible games where I died horribly around the early morning hours, the early AM hours. I'm also kind of out of it right now because I'm trying to fix my sleep schedule. As you guys notice, I am on earlier than usual tonight, which is good. Yes, so maybe I'll go to sleep at a normal time and then I'll wake up at an even normaler time here today. And the cycle continues, trying to push everything forward or backwards. Alter things. But yeah. So we're playing Apex Legends, and I was doing some tweaking, and one of the things I was doing is yesterday at the last game I uncapped, we actually won our last game, I uncapped my FPS, and then I was trying to set the affinity for Apex Legends so it only run on 5 of my 6 processors, and that didn't work. So I don't know if I want to take time to do it. We'll see how my games go tonight. Probably playing some DSL and play some cable games and see what happens. There. So far, guys, doing some Apex Legends. We're going to cover the Reddits here. Still not thrilled. The more you play the game, the more you realize the guns are just all stat sticks, and they're all basically the same gun. Unfortunately, it's things that I've talked about and posted on Twitter and had heated debates with people about. Apex Legends gun mechanics, gunplay is fucking terrible. Absolutely fucking terrible. You don't know it's not. It's a lot. It's fun. It's fast-paced. That's not the gunplay. The gunplay is how you operate the weapons. The gunplay is fucking terrible. Mainly because there's no gun differentiation. There's no categories of weapons. There are snipers, and there are shotguns, and there are pistols, but they don't remotely function like their namesake. They don't function like a sniper rifle. As a matter of fact, the triple take is basically a fucking shotgun. And it functions like a shotgun. There's no damage fall off. The spread on the shotguns, they don't deliver enough damage up close, and the spread is too short, so it's basically not really all that different from an assault rifle. Then basically all the guns just come down to the amount of DPS they put out, as people are figuring out, as they're starting to basically just everyone's picking up the R99, which is one of the highest, is the highest DPS gun in the game, putting aside the Devotion. But Devotion you have to spin up, which is kind of pointless because the gunplay moves so fast, you never get a chance to spin up your Devotion before people shit on you. So, basically R99 is the reason everyone's carrying around R99. The Wingman has really respectable DPS, even though it's a pistol, and the main draw for it is the fact that it actually, it has almost no momentum, inertia inheritance on the projectile. So you can hip fire or you can strafe fire, and your shots will almost always hit the target that you're aiming at. Inheritance. There's almost no bullet drop. It's basically an insanely good sniper rifle. DMR, not sniper rifle. Insanely good DMR, only it's a pistol. Shroud game mechanics fucking suck. Counter-Strike game mechanics fucking suck. There's a reason they basically went out the age of the dodo, and even when Counter-Strike was around, there were other games that still were using cones of fire, much like Rainbow Six, which I've talked about before. There's tons of other games that were using cone of fire. And, you different things to manipulate your cone of fire, such as crouching, stop moving, ADSing. Depending on the game, you could pick up mods for the weapon that tighten it up. Mods have been around for a long time. Tribes, for instance, one of these games, lots of mods. Not wrong type of mod. Confusing the two mods there. But Tribes had mods that basically allowed you to mod weapons on the mod you're playing. You pick different fire modes, choose from different ways of using your weapons. There's tons of different ways, but the moral of the story is basically Counter-Strike game mechanics fucking suck. They're old. They're outdated. They're antiquated. They've went the way of the dodo. No one likes. Well, I shouldn't say no one likes Counter-Strike. That's really strongly worded. The way of the Sith. There's a reason. Counter-Strike is still around because this monolith that tons of especially big streamers on Twitch grew up playing, and they talk about it all the time, but almost no one likes playing anymore. So, I mean, they can talk about all they want, how good it was and how awesome it was, but that's basically just all nostalgia talking, because it's like their first fuck. That was their first real fuck, and it felt really fucking good, and they can't get over it. So they just keep talking about it because nothing's ever been the same since, and mainly because they haven't been able to perform up to par in newer games besides then. So then they try to make it exactly like their old, great fuck of a girlfriend, even though they never really got along. It was just like one of those things that had really good sex, and then nothing else came of it. Unfortunately, so yeah, you just have basically every weapon just comes down to a stat stick, and then you just have weapons that are just a lot better than everything else, like the AK and the M4, and you don't even really have two weapons in the Counter-Strike because you only get one of those weapons per team. Depending on unless you steal it from someone's dead body, you only get the weapon based on what team you're on, and all the other weapons are basically just means to getting an M4 or AK, and that's it. Basically, the game is like those weapons are so much better than everything else in the game. There's just really no reason to use them unless you're trying to style on someone. You're just trying to look good. Play for fun. Everyone likes talking about how it doesn't matter as long as we had a guy in chat yesterday that was really it's a good word for that, not ambitious. He was definitely a Counter-Strike zealot. He was a diehard for Counter-Strike gunplay, and like he just kept referring to like all the other guns as being there for fun. But, the game's for fun, so why can't you play with all the guns in the game and they have their pros and cons? Like, not everything, if the category is all pros with almost no cons, there's something wrong with the game. The one attempt Valve actually made at trying to balance the weapons in Counter-Strike was adding the Counter-Strike Marketplace. I don't know if you guys remember that. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, the games themselves obviously have prices set for weapons, and what Valve did was they made it so the prices of weapons is dynamically reflected by the demand for them. So it was like a market, only in-game currency, per round. So then they capped eventually, like the AK got up to like 7,000 or something like that, and normally it's, was it 4,000 or 3,500? I don't remember the prices of the guns. But it got up to something absurdly high, and the deagles were also absurdly high. And even though it actually is a really good idea for balance, even though they weren't changing the gun mechanics at all, they're changing how you could obtain it to a rarity level. They're changing the rarity of the weapons essentially because you could only purchase it with so much money, and it threw off everyone's game where they had to have exactly so much money. It's basically one of the last things that Valve ever did to like directly influence the balance in Counter-Strike. The Valve Marketplace. I forgot exactly the name of it, but basically there's a global price set for the weapons based on the demand of players, because it was really cool because they had stats to track shit like that. We're in Possessed and Unhuman. They had prices to reflect basically the demand of the weapons, and then drove the prices of the AK, the M4. Obviously, the AK, the M4, and the Deagle like way the fuck up, and the Op way the fuck up. And people were forced then to use less optimal weapons, and no one liked that. No one liked that. Like I said, Counter-Strike, you know, it's an old game. I played a lot of Counter-Strike back in the day. A lot of Counter-Strike Source back in the day. It's an old game. It's antiquated. And it was a success. It still is a success. But as far as video game development goes, it is a fucking disaster because they can't change anything in the game. And I'm sure someone's going to argue, oh, they change XYZ and like the crosshairs are a tiny bit better for Y gun, and you know, it doesn't matter. If you look at the changes they do in like Fortnite, you're talking like fucking piss in the bucket. There's like the changes they do in Counter-Strike are like absolutely fucking minimal, like beyond minimal. And people just bitch up a storm whenever it changes. That's why it's kind of a development failure, because the game is basically stale. It's stagnant. They can't change Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is Counter-Strike, and if they ever change the game, people get really, really pissed off about it. So it's a success. Valve is going to continue making money, and I mean, if they're anything like their fucking marketplace, like Steam, you know, they can just sit on their laurels and they'll make money till the end of time. However, you know, when you actually want to do something because you don't want to just be a fat fuck sitting there, just, you know, eating on your nachos, watching your money go up, you know, they can't do anything with Counter-Strike. It's done. It's basically donezo, unfortunately. Which is why, like, when people always reference Counter-Strike, it's like talking about 20-year-old game mechanics as if they're relevant today in today's development ecosystem and video game development ecosystem. It's not. Like I said, I had a pretty heated debate with that guy. I was like 2 days ago or 2 streams ago, where he really, really was gunning for like Counter-Strike game mechanics, and like then it comes down to nuances too, where it like is like as I was describing, basically Counter-Strike game mechanics or gun mechanics is basically just spray patterns, which they are, and then it goes into how to maximize it too. And it's like no, then we talked about how you have to basically crouch, or you tick with like the AK, for instance. You stop and tick, stop and tick, stop and tick. It all looks exactly the same. Everyone does exactly the same thing to maximize usage of either the M4 or the AK. It all is exactly the same. There is no leeway for your interpretation of how to use the AK, because basically there is one really optimal way to use the guns, or the M4. There's one really optimal way to use the guns, and there's only really good guns in the game, and those were the good guns. But when you look at like a game like Fortnite, or I guess PUBG isn't even really a good example. PUBG is really popular, but PUBG gun balance, they're all the same. It's like Apex Legends. They're just all the same. Although PUBG has Cone of Fire on Hipfire, it doesn't on ADS, but on Hipfire it's Cone of Fire. If you look at other games, Battlefield, although the newer Battlefield I believe has spray patterns as well. People, Shroud, another proponent of the Counter-Strike agenda, Counter-Strike agenda, who wants to make every game like Counter-Strike so he can rack in millions of subs, which is showing, by the way. I was watching him earlier today, and it's fucking retarded. He got developers to make a game for him to showcase his skill, and like as far as the gunplay goes, and it fucking shows. Like I can't even watch him because it's not even like watching the game. Like you watch like Shroud, or you watch, who's the other guy? Dilly, you watch Dilly. They do this exactly same thing. It's like all aim. All it is aim, and just hold down the button on people's portraits, and that's it. Like it doesn't matter. You just stop and hold down the button, and hold the aim on people. And obviously they're playing with, you know, good squads, or even now with good squads, it doesn't really fucking matter. At a certain point, like all they do is just hold down the button and just train. It's just like all about training your crosshair on someone for as long as humanly possible. It's Like, it's boring. I'd actually say it's boring watching Shroud or Dilly. Absolutely boring. Dizzy, not Dilly. Dizzy. Yeah, no, it's so fucking boring watching them. Like watching Summit, you know, Summit's really good at gunplay, but watching those two guys, like, the game is literally made for their style of play. And, like, all it is just basically training your crosshair as well as humanly possible on a target and just holding mouse 1 down until they're dead. It's fucking stupid. It is absolutely hilariously stupid. And all the guns in the game, they're all just fucking broken. They're all basically the same guns. It's just stat sticks. It doesn't matter what gun you're using. It's just a stat stick. Unlike other games where you pick a shotgun because you want up close personal close quarter gameplay, or you pick a people haven't really done pistols very well in a long time. Battlefield does about the best pistols. Oh my god, Unhuman! Thank you for the 100 bits, dude. I appreciate it. But even like the pistols haven't really been done good in games. Pistols have been always the bastard child, where people like the developers usually just lump them into SMG category. It's kind of where they end up. Either that or they turn into a sniper rifle, both of which they don't belong there. As I mentioned before, when it comes to like Battlefield, how Battlefield differentiates the gun pistols from other guns is they make it easier to draw the weapons. And if you're using a higher caliber weapon, that means you're going to have a heavier punch, but that also means you're going to have a higher chance of missing the target. Shotgun, like there's a trade-off between damage and accuracy. Weird fucking shit, right? Weird shit. Or recoil. Weird shit, guys. Boop. Beep boop boop. Beep boop beep. Thanks for the 100 bits, Unhuman. You are now the #1 donator for this week. May the odds be... Oh, you don't need odds. You're just going to be the #1 donator for the rest of the week, so... But anyways, they're just all stat sticks. They're all just stat sticks, guys. I was thinking about it. It's been so long since I got a bit donation, I wasn't sure what to do with it. At the time I got reincarnated as a slime, no. However, I've heard about it. I think it's on my watch list. By the way, Goblin Slayer is fucking terrible. Absolutely terrible. I watched that because of some murmurs on Twitch about it being good. It's fucking terrible. Literally about a guy that slays goblins. The time I got reincarnated as a slime. Guy. This is pretty good, by the way. The new Sword Art Online's pretty good. And basically, these are just a bunch of 7.5s, low 7s that I need to watch. This is actually pretty good. A bunch of 7.5s I need to watch. I haven't really gotten the interest on. This is a movie. Watch. Isn't done though. No. Yep. Heard about it. I've definitely seen this cover art before. This is historical. I don't know if I can bring myself to watch it. Sometimes historical animes are kind of shitty. Itch. Okay. Anyways, gunplay in Apex Legends, fucking boring. Absolutely boring as shit, and I will stick to that to the end of time. People calling for basically a nerf to the wingman, and there's no damage fall off on the weapons. There is no accuracy to the weapons. They're all 100% accurate, except for the sniper rifles on hipfire. You can fire any other gun, asterisk shotgun, any other gun from your hip, and it'll be 100% accurate. The shotgun is 100% accurate, however, because it has a spray pattern where it'll come out in, like, a triangle for Mozambique or whatever, which means it basically has accuracy because the pellets go in exactly a pattern and they'll split. So you can only hit a target within a certain distance. The sniper rifles, just to add insult to injury to those weapons, the sniper rifle does have a cone of fire to it when you're firing off the hip, whereas pistols, besides the shotgun pistol, pistols, the assault rifles, the SMGs all fire 100% accurate off the hip. They just have different recoil patterns to them. That's it that you have to compensate for. But otherwise, they're 100% accurate, and there is inertia. The bullets do inherit inertia, which means when you jump or strafe or move side to side, your bullets will drift from the target, and you have to compensate by aiming back the direction you're coming from. It's really hard to describe. You can get a hang of it if you're playing the game in the training range. But generally speaking, the guns are all 100% accurate. You just have to be able to deal with the inheritance, the bullet inheritance. But yeah, definitely not a fan of Apex Legends guns. Yeah, we're going to completely disagree on that, Codis. Definitely disagree on that one. Apex Legend guns are basically all the same fucking shit. They're all stat sticks. It's like someone was commenting yesterday on me using the fucking, what was it, pistol, the R45, I think it is. Like that pistol is, use pistols? And I was like, it's a stat stick. It's basically a machine, another bullet hose. It's just another bullet hose in the game. What game are we talking about? We're obviously talking about Apex Legends. They're all bullet hoses. Every single gun, except for snipers. Like I mentioned, snipers, which almost no one uses, they're just like off the hip. Like they have a cone of fire to them, so they're even more inaccurate off the hip. And you can use something high punch like Wingman, and that doesn't have the accuracy penalty, and it's 100% accurate, and there's no damage drop off. Bolt Piercer mod. Definitely disagree, but they're kind of in a tight spot, because if they, like, once you make a game, like, it's out of beta, this is technically a release, they can't go to a, like, they're gonna have a really, really tough time going to a cone of fire model. They can't switch to it, so they're gonna have to try and balance the game, which means if they want to try and balance the spray patterns on the weapons and actually keep the spray patterns instead of a cone of fire and keep the 100% accurate weapons, they're gonna have to have not no recoil, but it's, I call it easy mode recoil. So basically when you fire, a carriage return recoil, when you fire, your gun pops and it'll return to the original point you're aiming at. It'll return to the original point. So if you keep firing like this and it'll go up, it'll go back to the original point. Some games, that's not in every game, some games have it where when the gun pops up, that's where you're aiming now. So your new point of origin is now here. So when it moves around, it makes it a lot harder to control the recoil on weapons. Easy mode recoil makes it a lot easier to time your bullets with when it pops back to the target, because it'll basically do all the work for you. If recoil actually moves the gun around in a meaningful fashion, that will affect your accuracy, which in turn is more like a cone of fire, which some people fight for cone of fire versus recoil. The two different things they'll fight for is cone of fire, recoil. Cone of fire will affect the accuracy of the weapon, whereas recoil will also affect the accuracy of the weapon, but indirectly. However, the downside to recoil is it can't compensate for first shot, meaning every gun in existence will always be 100% accurate, which doesn't make sense. But if you have a cone of, like a recoil, which will bump your gun around, the moment you fire your gun, it's always going to be like 100% accurate, just because of the way the game works, just the way it works. I wouldn't say, they've all had their ups and downs. Fortnite is not going away. It's still, I'd actually, like, overall, definitely Fortnite is still the best. I don't play Fortnite, and I haven't played Fortnite in 6 months after basically I got sick of the low latency advantage in that game. Fortnite, just in general, just because they've pumped so much, like, from a development standpoint, they've put a lot of effort into that game. Apex is pretty good. It's fun. As I've talked about before, there's a couple different hang-ups, there's a couple different hurdles that Apex is coming to. One that we're discussing right now is the gunplay, which is actually really bad. A lot of people aren't noticing it because they're new to the game, and the game feels new. It has a new car smell. You know, like when you get a new car, you're like, ooh, this car's so much fun, and so, you know, and you don't notice the things that are wrong with it. Like, there's a lot of people that are saying, like, there weren't any bugs in the game, or it's super polished, and it's not really. It's like a beta. It's like any other beta that I've played. Tons and tons of bugs in the game. I never really liked PUBG. I guess some people enjoy it. I've never really liked it, though. H1Z1, for the time it was out, you know, it's like, but games have evolved since H1Z1. That's kind of old and antiquated, and they just never updated. They never added new guns. That was the thing that the game really needed, was more guns. And they're talking about, so like with Apex Legends, for instance, we're talking about they're talking about how they're adding new guns, but if every gun is just a stat stick and they all feel very similar to each other, it just comes down to DPS numbers. Like I mentioned, people are starting to realize this, which is why people are starting to run like the R99. And the Spitfire works really well is because it's reload plus your DPS. So it includes the reload time on the weapons. So if you include the magazine size and then reload on top of it compared to like an R99 with sustained DPS, the R90 or the Spitfire is really competitive with an R99. The Wingman, just insanely controllable, and the DPS is actually pretty respectable on the weapon. No. Misconception. That's like saying Minecraft is only for kids. Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck up in these niches where you believe niches, bitches. Don't get stuck in these niches where it feels as though like a game is engineered for a certain demographic and you can't enjoy it. Don't ever get stuck in one of those. I just use well, it doesn't matter. I use the 301 basically functions like an SMG. So, like, there's no gun differentiation like we're just talking about. Like, you use SMGs because they all function like SMGs. They're all bullet hoses. You just hold down the button, the stream of bullets comes out, and then you just compensate a little bit for the recoil and maybe ADS depending on your playstyle. A lot of people still don't realize that a lot of the guns are just 100% accurate. And if you take into account the inertia inheritance on the projectiles, they're 100% accurate, so you can hip fire with them and actually just, like, you know, still have full strafe speed without actually ADSing. So, like, even though they're releasing a lot of the models, or not the models, the characters in the game need to be balanced too. They're all kind of, it's just a shit show as far as class balance goes. It's weird too because there's like a lot of people that said classes were really balanced in the game. They're not. They definitely aren't in the game. We're just talking yesterday because we've been playing a lot of Bloodhound. Bloodhound's just kind of like, he starts tracking people when you don't need him to track people, and like when you're right on top of someone tracking down a kill, like he won't help you. Very weird. And Z, like his Q and his Z have problems. Like, he needs to be tweaked. A lot of the characters need to be tweaked. It's kind of weird too, like, because it definitely seems as though some of the characters have bigger hitboxes, like Gibraltar does, than other characters, but then they don't have more HP to compensate it for it, right? Like, if you're going to give a character a bigger hitbox, which means he basically has less defense, you have to give him something to bring him up so he's, you know, a little bit more balanced. Like, he's actually like a tank, which is kind of the way his character is designed, right? Just the same thing with Pathfinder is like not a Yankee, is this slinky bitch. It's like super slender and he's easy to fucking just like hit with bullets. Like, a lot of the way people are playing the game right now is based around the models, which models are the best, rather than what class they actually enjoy. I still want to try out Mirage. I don't have enough coins to try them yet. Yeah, Apex Legends also has a lot of publicity right now, a lot of hype, so you guys have to tune that out. I mean, you go to basically any of the big streamers that are playing the game, they'll talk about how much they enjoy the game and how different it is, how fresh it is, and how interesting the gunplay is, and how balanced the classes are, and how they're almost, well, they aren't, won't say almost, there's no bugs in the game. That's kind of a first couple days sort of thing where they're talking about how polished the game was on launch. You know. But yeah, PUBG never really could get into it. It always felt really slow. It was like Arma. It's too much like Arma, where I came from H1Z1 on playing Overwatch. It always felt way too slow. Blackout, for some reason, I think had something to do with the fact that it was merged with the Call of Duty community. Like, people just threw the game away. I don't really understand why people just stopped playing Blackout. What killed? Because Blackout to me felt like a better version of PUBG. Like, you know, it's in the same vein as PUBG. It's not like Fortnite. It's definitely not like Fortnite. It's not like H1Z1. It was like a faster, better paced version of PUBG. Very weird, and it had very similar gun mechanics. It wasn't like COD either. Well, it was like COD, but it wasn't really like, it wasn't deathmatchy. I didn't get why Blackout died out. I think it had something to do with Black Ops being a combination of Blackout streamers and like normal Call of Duty streamers, like as a turnoff for people trying to find Blackout streamers in the COD section. And you kind of feel a little bit dirty, to be perfectly honest, playing Blackout. It was really weird. COD always has kind of this slime to it when you play the game. It feels like you're playing like this preconceived notion that you're just talking about how you shouldn't judge games, you know, based on their demographic, but it feels like you're just playing like something playing when you're a kid or something is weird. I don't know. Like I'm basically just exactly saying what I told Ambro not to do. But like there's like this preconceived notion with that I think other people are experiencing with Blackout, that they just kind of like, it felt like they're playing Call of Duty when they wanted to differentiate themselves by playing a battle royale game or something. I don't really know, because like Blackout wasn't really that horrible of a game, and it always seemed better than PUBG. I was surprised that PUBG survived and Blackout kind of just dwindled to nothingness, to be perfectly honest. But Apex Legends is fun. Don't get me wrong, I am playing it because it is fun. I wouldn't play the game. I probably wouldn't even be streaming right now if I wasn't going to play Apex Legends. Simply because there aren't a lot of good games out. Well, I take that back. Now there's, like, all these games came out at kind of the same time. I do want to play Metro Exodus. That is on my list. Metro is one of my favorite series. It was before it was a meme on Twitch. Before it became big on Twitch. I've always enjoyed Metro games. There is also The Division 2. And Division 2 just got stuck right between two bad spots. Those poor developers. They just got hit. They got hit by like a double whammy here by both Anthem and then also Apex Legends. They just took their PvEers and their PvPers at the same time. It's just, that was most unfortunate. If they released a game like a year ago, they would have had like nothing to compete with like 6 months ago. Absolutely nothing to compete with. Anthem. Also a game, you know, if all else fails, you could play that. Basically just a better version of Destiny 2, a Borderlands game. PvE loot grind, so. But there's games available, but Apex Legends right now playing because it's people compare this to all sorts of other games. They're like, this is like PUBG, this is like Overwatch, this is like no one says it's like Fortnite because there's no building. Obviously, it can't be like Fortnite, duh, right, or something. Weird game. It feels a lot like Titanfall, to be perfectly honest. The gunplay. Gameplay itself feels an awful lot like Titanfall. Like, it has a smooth, crisp, fast, fluid feeling to it that I've only really gotten out of Titanfall. And a lot of that had to do with the combination between going between human and mech. Like, it was a seamless transition between the two. And they talk about it, and it does really work really well when you go between your mech and other mechs. And when you fight other mechs, it doesn't feel really like you're fighting vehicles. It feels like you're fighting a person in a giant suit, which is actually very, very cool. And I really do hope in the future that they do add Titans to Apex Legends. Not obviously in the normal game mode, because everyone just like, you know, like, you can't do that. Because everyone just, like, fucking, it'd be holding like a giant overpowered sword in a pedestal and have people trying to pull it. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but in actuality, there's just a lot of old, crusty fucks that just want to play the game exactly the way they played it in Season 2. And that actually does not help your... It was weird. I talked about this on Twitter, guys. It's weird how Fortnite went, which is you had these people that think the only way the game can be played is with shotguns and spam building. And anytime anything interrupts that flow, they get really, really pissed off. These same people went and played Apex Legends, and they talk about how fresh the game feels and how stagnant Fortnite was getting with building one-by-ones and people camping in them. And, you know, these people basically shit in their bed and then switched sides and then talked about how they shit in their bed. And they don't put two and two together. Like, they caused the problem with stagnant building in Fortnite. Like, one of the problems with Fortnite is the spam building. Like, I am a fan of building in Fortnite, but there's too much building in Fortnite to the point where basically everything gets caked with materials. And at that point, like, it's not really building anymore. You're just spamming out fucking materials as fast as possible. Because there's really no counter to building besides trying to build better than someone and get on top of them. And even then, you just run away because there's no 3D sound and it makes it really easy just kind of trying to escape through your structure. Very fucking weird. Very, very weird. And then it just leads to a very undramatic end to the game where you have people literally worming through boxes. And, like, there's no reason to shoot at other boxes because there's no way to secure kills. So why would you even bother with it, you know? Something like that. Like, why would you even take the effort to go after a kill late game when you know that there's going to be problems? Like, trying to secure that kill, there's going to be problems with it. So people just don't go for kills, and unless it's a really open shot, they won't go for kills because it's really difficult to actually weed someone out of a box. So much so that if you have a low enough ping, you're basically invulnerable in a box, and you can just put down panels as fast as humanly possible, and someone won't be able to shoot through them. Firstly, if you're the guy on the outside and someone inside has like a 40 ms ping, like myself, I'll get shot by maybe 20% of the rounds that try to shoot through the wall. I'll get shot by it, whereas the other direction is, you know, someone with a low enough ping, they'll just basically be invulnerable inside a box. There's YouTube videos on it now. People didn't believe me. I've been talking about low latency advantage in Fortnite for over 14 months now. Basically December 2000, January 2018. So about 13 months now. We are on our low latency advantage crusade in Fortnite, but because I'm a small streamer, it doesn't fucking matter. Fortunately, and you can't become a big streamer unless you perform well, and you can't perform well without a good ping, and, you know, just, that's circular, and you can just go and look at all the big channels on Twitch. Right? Unless they're entertainers. Entertainers are different. Bye. I started playing again recently. I'm getting 0 to 5 ms ping. That is god tier. A few months ago, I was getting 25 to 30. Maybe they added some new servers or something. Maybe. I understand they changed the ping on human, and then they broke it, and then I don't think they ever fixed it. The ping has always been broken in Fortnite. It'll show anywhere from plus minus 40% of your ping.
They do not have
Like I'm possessed. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, bring in those Terminators. Oh boy. Oh, give it to him. Give it to him, possessed. Someday I'll fix that too. I should probably just turn off the sound on my donation tracker. No. It's 34 months, dude. Almost 3 years. Don't worry, Possessed. Someday I will become a big streamer, and you can be the one guy that has a 34-month sub in chat. You'll be the one guy with a 34-month sub. Congratulations, Possessed. It's only cost you $5 a month for the last 3 years. By the way, I think I get a paycheck this month from Twitch. I think it's been like 6 months since I got one. That's kind of nice. That's neat. However, I haven't really streamed for the last 2 months, so, you know, there's that too. But yeah, Fortnite. So anyways, Fortnite ping has been wrong for a long period of time. It's been off, and anywhere from negative to plus 40%. Generally, a couple months ago, if you played the game and you got 25 to 30 ms ping, you probably are getting around 35 ms ping actually. Oh, is it? Like, the best time to check out your ping is when you're in the bus floating in the air. That, at least that's the best time I found, and then it's low. Be lower than your actual ping. Yeah, so you probably have like a 35 ms ping. MS ping, which isn't god tier. The 0 to 5 ms ping I would not trust. They had a bug with that like a month ago or a couple weeks ago. I read about it on their patch notes. Oop. Good. Someday, guys, someday I'll be a big streamer, and you guys can talk about when you watched Ben Sam 123 way back in the day. I am still contemplating a name change, by the way. I probably need to do that, and it's probably a big turnoff for people. I need to figure out a kick-ass name and change to it like Professor Buttsex or something, you know, something that kids like. However, that's not really my target audience, so maybe that's a bad idea. But anyways, Apex Legends. It's new and fresh, but I think once people figure out the gun mechanics and they figure out the basically how boring the gunplay is in the game, they'll start to lose interest in the game. A couple things are working against Apex Legends right now. One is cheating, and this is a big deal because you can Google Apex Legends cheats and come up with something on Google that works for you. That's pretty big. Cheating in Apex Legends is a pretty big deal right now. Not really bugs. There's definitely something with latency. I'm not sure what it is. Sometimes it works fine, but like last night, for instance, I was playing and I was just like dumping rounds into people and I wasn't actually getting any hit registration on them. It was very weird. The gunplay, I also think, will dry up after a while when people realize that guns basically are in no way representative of the classification of the weapon. And they'll just, like the shotguns, I don't even consider shotguns overpowered anymore. Like the Peacekeeper, a lot of people use. Like the DPS for the Peacekeeper is actually pretty poor. And you can use, unless you're pump and peeking it, like really playing a corner hard with it, you can use a stat stick and do a lot better than a shotgun. So shotguns are basically out. Sniper rifles are antiquated when you can use something like a Wingman, which is a sniper rifle you can just fucking shoot off the hip. Fucking off the hip and always hit your targets. Even in, I could be your top mod. There's no one to mod possess. There has to be people to mod. Like, you'd time out the one poor soul that isn't like a sub in my chat. Like, Ambrose shows up just tonight, just out of nowhere. He's like, what's this podcast over here? Ooh, look at this guy. You know, and then he gets timed out because you want to flaunt your strength or something, you know, against the one guy in chat. Just for shits and giggles. But anyways, the gunplay, I definitely think will get old. They can add all the classes they want, but gunplay itself in this game is definitely very, very pedestrian. It is very boring. The lack of gun like classifications where there's pros and cons to weapons and they're all just basically stat sticks. You just hold down the button and mouse one at someone and aim at them is kind of a big deal, and that's going to get to people. It's not going to right away, but that will be something. The other thing, the three things. One of them wasn't actually the netcode. The three things: cheating, gunplay, and then squad balance. This is a big one. Where you are playing, let's go with this one instead. This is squad balance. Squad balance, where you have pugs playing against pre-mades, is fucking terrible. It's fucking terrible. At the very least, as far as a matchmaker goes, guys, at the very fucking least, as far as a matchmaker goes, they have to make it so you're playing solo trios or you're playing squad trios. There is no in between. There is no squad mixing with solos, because some of the solo squads, if you've played solos trios in this game, some of the solo trios in this game are they are interesting to play with. They're very interesting to play with. You get an assortment of different people in this game. In Apex Legends, you get an assortment of different people. And I've talked about this multiple times on Twitter. I fucking stamp that in steel so it's there, so you guys know that I said it. Me, Ben Sam, me. I said it. Stamped and time dated that this game needs solo trios and squad trios, because pre-mades just dick all over solo trios. Just absolutely dick. Any sort of like remote amount of like cohesion, team cohesion, like any sort of people trying together, like means you're just gonna get dicked on in solos. Like we had like one match yesterday. No, that's 2 days ago. One guy decided he was gonna camp on a mountain range on the side, just sit there and like AFK or something, and like be super passive till the end of the game. My other teammate decided he wanted to go pick a fight with the 3 team that was held up in a building. Ran over to them while they're looking down the balcony. Held mouse 1, got hurt, queued because he was a wraith. Queued, they followed him, insta-killed him. I followed him trying to save him, and they downed me immediately. I mean, like, it's one of those things where you just don't initiate. Like, at that point, when there's just a team held up in a building, you're down a person, and unless you're gonna like, you know, work together to try and grenade them at exactly the same time or something, you know, start off, initiate, just don't pick that fight, you know, unless you're really, really good, you just don't pick that fight. Or you have a sniper where you can down someone immediately, but you can't really, because the only sniper that can do that is the Cabaret. Yeah, just in the most basic level, and then a level up from that is MMR. And they don't need to do strict MMR. It doesn't need to be like Overwatch, where everyone needs to be plus minus 50 elo from you or something stupid. Just having people that are grouped together around the same plus minus 50 elo, and then you can have a big range for the 60, so the 20 teams in the server. You can have a lot of different people in the server, and obviously the amount of points they get depends on who they kill. A lot to do with who they kill and if they survive at the end of the game, and like the average MMR of the server. There's a lot of cool things they could do with that. It doesn't need to be strict MMR. Like, it doesn't need to be one of these things where you search for 20 minutes for a perfect game. It just needs to be something where the teams are remotely balanced. So, like, yesterday morning was fucking terrible. Lots of kids on. We had like 6 games in a row where we either got trolled or people just would like do stupid shit or they'd leave. Like, we had one game where there's just like guys that wouldn't go. Like, we had one game where one guy wanted to go to the bunker and I was the jump master and I pinged over at markets or wherever that is. So we started going over to markets. He breaks off immediately. He can't make it to bunker because he doesn't know how to fly. He starts going like this. So I'm still going to fucking over to the market. Then my teammate, so then I start flying back over to him, over to the bunker, and I realize he can't make it over there. My teammate breaks off, drops straight down, and at that point we're in 3 different spots of the map at 3 different drop locations, and I just leave the game because there's no point in sticking around at that point, because if they can't even jump properly, there's no way that they're actually god tier players. So I just fucking left. Leaving definitely a problem in the game too, and I'm not talking about people that leave within the first 5 minutes of the game. I am talking about people that leave like 10 minutes into the game or the AFK or something stupid. It is unfortunate when you start with only 2 people. There's a lot of games where I've just quit just because we don't have a third. But in general, like, the matchmaker needs a decent amount of work in this game, and I really hope to do that. But tonight, anyways, enough of that. Tonight, I think we're going to go over the Reddits here real quick, and then we're going to play some Apex Legends and go from there. I am kind of tired right now, guys. I'm adjusting my sleep schedule, so hopefully I'll end at a normal time. Perfect slide. That's a little bit better than me. Yesterday I did this, only I fell into a gutter, and I slid down a gutter to a corner bottom. It was actually a perfect slide. Your main says about you. German Sombra, you think you know what you're doing, praying for luck, ping happy but doesn't talk. He loves edgy aesthetic. You always get to play Shield Man because nobody else does. This when your teammates is. Leading people to Mercy mains. I appreciate the effort, though. Always was your teammate, even when it seems pointless, might save the day. Yes, we did, Unhuman. All you have to do is sit on the login screen for a minute and then refresh it either by hitting escape or hitting this accessibility and it'll pop up. Yep, you don't even need to disconnect your internet connection. Yes, sir. Yep. And you just have to wait a minute and then refresh the screen by clicking a dialogue option. Oh yeah, of course, he's the champion. Found at the end there? No, he still had a teammate that was alive. Overrated. When he tries to do finisher while I'm self-reviving, my teammate was one step ahead of him. Council. Asterisk Council plays with Council. Apparently this is what council play looks like, guys. There's literally like 6 dead people just crawling around right here. Everyone get together! Let's all just sit in the same spot. Where are the grenades? We don't have any grenades. It's actually pretty good, this one guy that comes in here. And aim assist. Thank you, aim assist. You can't portal while already in the void, but apparently the other guy thought it could result in this accidental 200 IQ play. Also, Wraith actually overplayed, but actually one of the kind of the worst heroes in the game. Not actually that great. That good. A lot of things I say on my stream, guys, are objectionable. Not the common sentiment. Create a 32-page guide to help you get better at Apex Legends. Yikes, you could have done something better with your time. Turn that into a YouTube series. How you feel as a Bloodhound main during your ult? I'm blind? Contrast, though. Except that's not the way it works, because you really don't run faster than everyone else. It doesn't make you really all that much better. And it even obscures your vision, because it makes it hard to see the terrain around you, or really anything, any contextual clues besides the people. Can't see where what their guns are aiming at you. You can't really tell anything, except where people are. New car smell, guys. Playing this game every day for the last 50 years. Still fun. Good job, Respawn. To defeat exploit Caustic's traps. How's it exploiting? Okay. Thought that would be something interesting, guys. Nope. Or you know, though. That looks like it. Respawn, you monsters. What happens to these poor boys when the zone comes in? Aye. Octopuses or something. They don't even make sense, guys.